About learned behaviors, and I know we all can relate to that, but I have an amazing guest, and I'm honored that she came to bless the podcast today. My girl, something special to me. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself right now without further ado.
What's good, y'all? I'm Deidra Loyd. I am the owner of All Things to All People. We do counseling services and other supportive services. I'm a MSW, LCSW. I'm a mother. I'm a pet owner. I'm about to be a new grandma. So, got a lot of great things going on, and I'm a colleague of Kamika's.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Today. I'm honored. How we met was crazy, right? But I believe that God doesn't make mistakes, and He allowed paths to cross. I'm truly honored to have made your acquaintance, and just thankful and appreciative for the way that you poured into me and my life and the opportunities that you've given to me. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Definitely someone whom I respect and have great admiration for.
Well, thank you.
So I'm like, this woman got a lot of expertise. Of course, how I feel. But you have been in the game for a long time. You have a lot of wisdom. And I'm like, I gotta get Deidra in this thing so we can bless the people with some knowledge. So today we're gonna be talking about learned behaviors.
Yes.
Girl.
Yes.
And I think that this is important because learned behaviors is something that many of us, most of us, can relate to, identify with, have had challenges with specifically. Mm-hmm. So can you talk to us a little bit about exactly what is a learned behavior? Let's start there.
Well, I guess in a nutshell, all behavior is learned.
True.
Because we are reared by our families, our environments, our communities, and so we shape who we are, we pick up how we do things based on the context of our environment, the things that we're told, the things that we're shown, the things that are consciously given to us and even subconsciously. So ultimately, I believe behavior is learned all around, but then we get into the difference in when we have maladaptive behaviors, toxic behaviors, and so that's more aligned, I think, what we're going to get into today.
Absolutely. I'm nosy, they nosy, we're going to get into all of it. So, learned behaviors. I'm most interested today in spins on relationships. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes we hear about people like women with daddy issues, mm-hmm. or men with mother issues. And so you see that presented in relationships, whether there was a gap in the relationship with that individual and their parent, and now their spirit flesh yearns. Mm. And so they oftentimes see themselves in that cycle of learned behaviors because they're constantly looking for what they didn't get before in that parent. Mm-hmm. And so when we think learned behaviors, it's like, okay, I'm constantly attracting a certain type of person. Why? Mm-hmm. Right? So when we talk about like being self-aware, what are some things that we can do, acknowledge as individuals when we're in those relationships, but constantly experiencing learned behaviors? What are some things, cues that we can have for self-awareness to identify, hey, I'm in the same cycle again?
Yeah. I think when it comes down to self-awareness is, first of all, being able to acknowledge something. So first of all, you can't change what you don't acknowledge or you're unable to acknowledge. So coming to awareness of something. And then once you come to the awareness of something, then you can start to look at it, break it down, and then get into what we call therapeutically the stages of change. Mm-hmm. But I think most importantly, you have to understand that once you come to the knowledge of something, it then becomes your responsibility. You can't change anything that you continue to, project blame. So say you grew up and your mom didn't make the best choices. She may have bought boyfriends around. She may have, not been very attentive, whatever the issue may have been. And so there may come, when you're younger and different things, you know, as children, we want to please our parents. We want to be loved. We want to be validated. We all still want that, not just as children, but even as adults. You spoke on it a little bit earlier about when something, a need's not met when we're younger. So you continue to seek that out, to fill that void as you grow up. But the sooner that you can recognize and learn about something, then you can begin to do something about it. So I think the first step in self-awareness is being able to accept, you know, and acknowledge that something needs to change or that a behavior is not serving you.
Yeah.
And then once you come to that, then you can start to take the steps to make change.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how long it takes, because you know, when we deal with clients and they start services, they want us to come save the world, as I always say. Right. And it's like, okay, I'm here, I finally made my mind, I'm ready to change, and then like week over week, they're like, okay, but you know, you have to be intentional to point out the progression, right? Absolutely. But a lot of times people want to see that immediate change. How long does it really take once you've been doing something for so long to really see that change?
Well, scientifically, they say it takes 30 days to form a new habit, I believe. But even in that, it's still consistency. It's still everyday effort. Because even though you may be doing well, you may be on task for something for a few years, and then a life experience happens or something happens to knock you off your square. And then, you know, the next thing you know, you stop doing that thing that, you know, was positive or what have you. It's an ongoing process. I think as long as you're alive, as long as you have breath in your body, you will always continue to evolve and grow if you want to.
If you want to.
If you want to.
And people often say that they do. You know, I want to do something different. I don't like the way this person treated me. You know, they took advantage of me. Time and time again, I've spoken to a lot of people, and it's like, again, that same like building projects is a lot of women refer to, and I'm sure men can relate too. You see a man and it seems like, here you go, here's another project. I'm Mr. Fix It, and now I'm pouring into you, and I'm investing in you, and I help build you, I help develop you, I help, you know, cultivate you professionally or whatever that may look like. And then guess what? Then he leaves, and guess what? Then she's sad and heartbroken. Then finds another guy. Right. Here's another project. Right. And you constantly find yourself in that same cycle over and over again. So at what point do you say, like, hey, I keep doing the same thing, but then also saying, okay, I got to do something different? To your point, you got to want to make the change.
Absolutely.
But if you see yourself, is what I would say, in those moments when you acknowledge this feels the same, I'm doing the same thing, you have to be intentional to do something different, right?
Absolutely.
So part of that, what would be the first step? You acknowledge it, and then what? How do I change, Deidra?
So, you know, having the knowledge of something but not applying it is useless, it's futile. So what grandma and mama used to say, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. At the end of the day, it has to come from that person. There's nothing that anyone else can do with our clients. You know, we push and we want it and we see it. A lot of times we see it more clearly than they do. We see it sooner than they see it. But at the end of the day, until they see it.
Absolutely.
And not only do you see it, but until you want to do something, until you become uncomfortable in being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
You accept
because sometimes we get comfortable in toxic situations, in habits, in poor habits and poor choices. One of the easiest or one of the best probably examples is our eating habits. We know McDonald's is horrible for us. We know fast food is horrible for us. Absolutely. We go, the prices are going up. We know. I just seen a video earlier today. This lady had a Big Mac sitting down for a year, for a year and 3 weeks. The lettuce was still green. Nothing changed. Nothing. Yet still the lines are still what they are. Yet still, I'll still find myself roll up at McDonald's or get some fries and sit there and know good and well that's all I really eat at McDonald's now. Still fries. Those are hard to get off of. But nonetheless, we know you have You have respiratory therapists that know the dangers of smoking, but they still smoke.
Mm-hmm.
You have obese doctors. You have nappy-headed hairdressers. So I'm just saying, like, just because you know something, it's no good if you don't apply it. And then once you start applying it, you have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
You gotta, you know what I'm saying? I have a saying where I say all the time, you can't have it both ways. You know, you can't say you want to lose weight, but then you keep eating bad. You can't say you want to have this money or you want to take these trips, but then you don't have the discipline to work, to save up or do what have you. So it all comes down to, that person making the decision and sticking to it.
Yeah, I agree. Earlier you mentioned toxic relationships, right? And it just is mind blowing when you see the toxicity, you acknowledge the toxicity, but because and I'm trying not to go off topic as well. I'm trying to think intentional, in my next words, but you yet continue to be drawn to those situations. I do want to spend a little time reflecting on the relationships with our parents, though, and how those have directly impacted how we present. I think it's important for people to know that you could have had something happen to you at 5 years old,
absolutely,
12 years old, and you felt like, that wasn't an issue. I've dealt with that, and it still presents in your relationships at 42 years old, at 35 years old, at 55 years old. And so until you address that unresolved trauma issue, you still, that little 12-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old little girl, little boy is still seeking what he or she didn't get. And I think it's important for people to understand, like, go back to, and I'm like, it was okay, like, this cool, I had this happen to me, but I've dealt with it. No, baby, it's still there.
Yeah.
And then as therapists, we're left trying to nurture that 5-year-old, 12-year-old to help get them beyond that space. So what are your thoughts around, like, in your experience dealing with clients who learn behaviors, post-traumatic stress that they deal with? How is it related, and how have you seen it present in the lives of your clients?
I think definitely educating people about trauma and its effects, helping them to understand how the age you experience your first trauma, how it stunts you emotionally.
It does.
And then you start to you operate as that age. So if it happened when you were 5 years old, emotionally, no matter how old you are, if you don't do the work to heal past that, you will always handle things as a 5-year-old, and that results in tantrums, anger outbursts,
how you respond to conflict.
Absolutely. So that's definitely, the things that you experience as a child growing up definitely have a large effect on the relationships, or like you mentioned earlier, not having a parent present. Looking for that love, validation, affirmation. If you're looking to a man to provide and protect as a father would have, and so then you maybe have a man that provides in some ways. You may see him being, maybe the unhealthy boundary of being controlling. You may see that as protection. But then also these relationships, they release chemicals. So we have, we respond to the dopamine and the things, that those various chemicals that various emotional states put us in. So then you start to, it's kind of like something that you crave, if you will.
Absolutely.
Kind of like a drug or, different things. So you crave that. There's a saying in a relationship that the person is the cause and the cure. He's the cause of the pain, and he can be the cure for the pain too. That's a crazy place to be.
Yeah. You don't know what to do.
That's a crazy place to be.
It is, but that's true. But I even think back to, I hear a lot of times people say, like, I'm going to do something different than what my mama did. I'm going to do something different than what my father did. Yet, when you mature in age and you live a little while, then you find yourself like, I'm just like my mama.
Right.
I am my mama's child. I am my father's child. But understanding that you can reflect on those experiences and try to do things differently, But it's important to understand that those behaviors, you still picked up on them. Whatever you was exposed to in that environment, please believe me, you picked up those things, and we're going to see what we call transference or projection in those relationships because of some things that you picked up from your parents, you know? And so when we talk about learned behaviors, it's like, okay, I don't want to be that person. But then being conscious and owning it, being accountable. So if you see, you know, my mother used to talk to me this way, or she used to use certain language to me, or my father, you know, wasn't, he was physically present, he was financially present, he was not emotionally present, right? And so acknowledging that, but then being intentional to set time. You know, we far from perfect. I tell our teens all the time, you all have such great expectations of your parents.
Right.
But baby, we still trying to figure out our lives.
That part.
We ain't figured this out.
Yep.
While we trying to figure out life, we trying to help you.
Yep.
We trying to help you figure your life out too.
So I wanted to add something to that though. So not only understanding your, you know, being intentional and recognizing the patterns that you want to break, but being able to understand the why.
Oh, yes.
Understanding why your mother behaved or father, why they did those things that they did. And then having an understanding, having empathy.
Absolutely.
Understanding that even, you know, even as being just a little transparent, you know, I grew up abused. And in my work, in my healing journey, one of the things I was able to do is realize, like, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I'm like 30 plus years old when I come to this realization. Might even been closer to 40, maybe in my 40s. But I started thinking about the abuse that my stepfather had to endure, because I was blessed that he came and he apologized to me. And I don't know how many people, from me going 30 plus years of you never acknowledging what you did to you coming to me and apologizing to me. That's a whole nother podcast right there. But he kind of shared a couple things that he experienced. You know, I was able to tell him I forgave him. I did not let him, just because you went through that didn't mean it was, you know,
okay.
It wasn't okay. I got validation, but him sharing that with me made me think. Like you said, we talked about how long does it take. I thought I was good. I'm thinking I'm good. Then this came up, and I was like, wow. It brought some more stuff up for me. So then I was able to reflect and think about, wow, this man went through this, and for him to do the things that he did, how much did he endure? So I was able to have empathy. And I felt sadness, but you know, it didn't excuse you.
Absolutely.
But it helped me to understand. As being a mother, you know, being a mother now of young adults, I understand why my mom did this, or I understand why they be cussing, you know, because you understand now, because you've lived that, or you've had an experience. I think it's a lot easier to understand where a person is coming from in the relationship, and when it comes to your own choices and changes that you want to make, being able to see things from their perspective.
Absolutely.
Being able to empathize with what they could be.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't, empathizing with them doesn't mean it takes away from your needs and where you're coming from, but it helps you to be able to see the other side as well.
Absolutely. Oftentimes when I'm talking to clients, I have to reiterate the reminder that people can only give you what was given to them.
Absolutely.
People are often unwilling, they're often unable, but they can only give you what was given. And we can see greatness in people and know, like, you capable of this. But if it wasn't given to them, it's trying to pull something out of them that is foreign. They have no idea. So why can't you just listen to me? Or why can't you be emotionally supportive? Or why can't, baby, they don't know how to be.
Absolutely.
They didn't have that example.
Absolutely. And to your point about relationships, we look to, so many times we look to that partner to complete us or make us better or make us happy.
Absolutely.
Whereas we have to take the time with ourselves to make ourselves solid. You know, the relationship can only be as strong as its weakest link. You know, you can't change anybody, you can't make anyone do anything. So in a relationship, if you want the relationship to be positive or you want something different in the relationship, you should always start with yourself.
Got to.
And your own behavior and your own choices. And then usually what that does is that if they buy into the relationship, they want to be in the relationship, they want it, you know, if y'all on the same page, then that's going to make them look at themselves as well. And then next thing you know, each person is working on themselves and things are getting better because each one is doing what they can actually do, as opposed to focusing on the other person, waiting, well, you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to change this and you need to change that. Okay, if I want you to be kinder, well, let me be kinder.
Lead by example.
So I will be kinder. And then what happens is, at the end of the day, if you're kinder and they're not, then you make the choice. Then maybe it's time for you to keep it moving.
Yeah,
because
which is okay.
Exactly.
Which is okay.
It's progress, either way.
People get so caught up on like the sense of loyalty. You know, I'm thinking about this song by K. Michelle. You can't raise a man. He's already grown. What you gonna do? You wonder why he acts like a boy. It was because he wasn't raised right before you.
Right.
But you can't, again, going back to my comment about whether it's a male or a female, because we have a lot of amazing men who deal with a lot of toxic women.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of amazingly wonderful women who deal with toxic men, narcissistic men, you know. And I would just throw this in here, just because a man, he can still be narcissistic. We talk about learned behaviors. He can still be narcissistic even if he has a few tendencies. Don't dismiss those few tendencies.
Absolutely.
And also, don't be quick to call a person narcissistic unless you know what you're talking about.
That part.
And then if you're going to acknowledge it, do something about it.
Exactly.
Don't just stay, to your point, in a toxic situation, a toxic relationship. But I want to go back to just people being incapable and putting in the work. And, you know, investing in yourself, taking time for yourself. It's so difficult to try to heal from somebody who's hurt you. And you still in a relationship with this person.
That part. You can't heal the same place you were hurt. You gotta step away.
Tell the people that, Deidra. Tell the people that.
You can't heal in the same place that you were hurt. You gotta be able to step away from it.
And the thing that really gets me oftentimes is when people have hurt someone, then they want to dictate how fast that person should heal. Well, you said you love me. You said you want to work on this.
Right,
and you said you want to stay. Let it go.
Why you bringing it up?
It just happened yesterday. Why are you bringing it up today? It's just crazy. But all of that, again, going back to the learned behaviors, that when you see these cycles, the importance of, we call them red flags, but no, being empowered. To make a decision about your life and not necessarily, you don't have to stay in a situation that
not being afraid to start over, you know?
I'm going to tell you right now, we've heard, you know, people being afraid to be by themselves. You know, I've never been by myself before. I got to have somebody. I need the companionship. So always seeking that validation. And that's just going to take you all the way right back to those learned behaviors, how you was grown, your relationship with your mother, your relationship with your father, or whomever, you know, raised you. Because I know, and I know you know, clients who parents treated them horribly, rejected them, chose a boyfriend or a girlfriend over their child. And when I tell you, they riding with that parent. They gonna ride with them to the end.
Absolutely.
No matter how they treated them. And then on the flip side, I know kids who had amazingly upbringings, and they find fault in everything the parent does. And that's just a concept that I have not ever been able to really wrap my mind around. How you have a situation that wasn't the best, but that child has loyalty and love for that parent to the end.
I think that comes from just the difference of what the person feels that they need or they lack.
This has been great dialogue. I hope and pray that something has been said to our audience to help them in their journey. But before we go and transition, I asked you to bring your affirmations. Do you have your affirmations?
I do.
If you'll look into the camera and give your affirmations to the people.
Okay. My first one is I can do it.
Yes.
That's like super simple, super elementary, but I can do it. Just believing in yourself, believing that you can. And sometimes you just have to keep speaking it over yourself and reminding yourself. I am considered. And for that, I think about in God's creation of all of everything, He considered me and created me. So I'm considered. There is no lack. That's something I remind myself when things get hard or I get to focusing on money or what I don't have. I recognize that I have no lack. And you are. And so a lot of times when we talk about, we talk about manifestation and this and that. We say, the words that speak things into existence as though they are. You have to speak them as if they are presently happening. So you are fill in the blank. And then this is my one. This is my one that needs a little explanation. So I'm a cusser. But I know when and where. So you don't know. But so we have in my family, I'm an only child, grew up only child, and then I have 3 children. So I have gone through different adversities and different things, and there were times when I would have to speak in the mirror, stand in the mirror and speak life to myself. And I had to get myself hyped up, like, you know who you are? You are Deidra M.F.N. Loyd. Like, what? So doing that. And so, I really had to, hype myself up. And so when I get to feeling, I do that. I get, kind of like, what's that boxer who's real arrogant?
Muhammad Ali?
Well, not him. No, not him. He got all that money. His daughter.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yes, he's super duper arrogant, right? So I'm like, I'll get my little Floyd Mayweather in the mirror, and to the point where all 3 of my children, they got to a certain point. I'm like, now it's time for me to give you your middle name, because they had different adversity in their life, and they were crying, they were breaking down, and I had to build them up. And started with my oldest. I'm like, you know who you are? You're Michaela, and she's like, they're looking at me, and I'm like, say that, and just, I'm not caught up in the words. It's the mindset, it's the reassurance, it's the pop in your collar. Because if you don't, who will? Absolutely. Sometimes you got to encourage yourself. Absolutely. So you got to believe in yourself. So that's one of probably my favorite ones. That, and I just recently, Kira just got her middle name. I said, it's time to give me your middle name. So it's so funny with my kids, because I literally made them do it. They're like, I'm not going to say that. I'm like, come on.
Own it.
And then by the time it's all said and done, we get done, they're like, that raw. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we have to remember who we are. We have to awaken that beast. We got to get in beast mode, because we got to come out of something. We got to come through it. And that's the only way you're going to be able to do it, is beast mode.
Absolutely. I love it. That's beautiful. Got to get somebody their middle name. Thank you so much for sharing that. But before we go, I want you to look one more time in the camera and encourage the people. Encourage the people, Deidra.
So just remember that you can do anything you put your mind to. If you really want it, you can have it. I truly believe that people make time for what they want to do. I don't believe in it. There's no such thing as try. You either do or you don't. So you either gonna do it or you're not.
Y'all heard today, we talked about learned behaviors. There is hope. It is not over for you. Stay encouraged. Speak life. Encourage yourself, as Deidra said. Walk through the halls of your home and affirm yourself. No matter what, you all are going to continue to hear me proactively and intentionally talk about affirmations. People will always have an opinion of you, honey. They always got something to say, and they think that you always want to hear it, even though we don't. You have to know who you are. You have to affirm yourself daily. Affirm your children. Speak life to your children. If you want to, like Deidra said, give them a middle name. Let them know who they are and whose they are. But until next time, stay blessed, stay encouraged, and have an amazing day intentionally. I love you very much. Until next time.